I've been teaching people how to play Grand Archive for a while now, and I noticed there's a few things that most players don't really do when they first start playing. These are some tips that should help you once you've learned how to play the game, but you're trying to become more consistent at it. Whether you're new to Grand Archive in general, or new to the specific strategy that you're playing, these tips should help you become more consistent. Now let's just start it out with tip number 1. Always plan ahead as to what you're going to be doing in the next turn. If you know that next turn you want to go for a big push, you need to be able to have the hand size for it. So let's say you have Dungeon Guide and Rending Flames. Playing both of these cards, you're going to need 8 cards in total. 6 cards to put down for both of them, and then the Dungeon Guide and the Rending Flames. And then Rending Flames requires you to have 3 fires in your graveyard. So that means the turn previous, you need to maintain your hand advantage and make sure you have at least 8 cards in hand, and have 3 fires in grave. So you don't want to overextend, and you want to make sure that you have this option available to you next turn. Now for tip number 2, try to predict when your opponent's going to be going for a kill. If you know your opponent's going for a kill next turn, you can do one of 2 things. You can hold all of your cards for your defensive options and try to survive through all their big pushes, or you can dig for your own win condition. A good example is Rye, as many times when they hit level 3, their first turn on 3, they'll be digging for as many cards as possible. So by the end of their turn, they'll have 15 to 20 cards in their memory, and on the next turn, they're looking to just do 30 plus damage. If you see that, you need to be going for your own win condition, because it's going to be really hard to survive through a 30 plus damage turn. Even if it'd be more optimal to wait one extra turn to hopefully get the cards you need to go for a kill, you're not given that luxury. Just go for it while you still can. And now tip number 3 is you need to be able to play around as many defensive options as possible. Looking at your opponent's hand and seeing how many cards they have left is always going to be a good tell if they have any options available to them. For example, if you're playing against Wind and they have 3 cards in hand, they could have a Zephyr or Reclaim available to them. Keeping note of your opponent's hand size is always going to be important, so keep in mind what deck your opponent is playing and how many cards they have to see what defensive options they could have. Another important tip to keep in mind is that versus Rye, their best defensive option is going to be the Arcane Spell Shield, but they can only use that once they hit level 3. So going for early damage pushes, even if they're not super optimal or they won't go for a kill immediately, might be the way to go. The amount of advantage that you can get off of a Spell Shield is immense, and if you're going for Rending Flames before they have the chance to put up a Spell Shield, it's going to be very beneficial. And moving into tip 4, don't always go for the same linear materializations. While it's good to have a game plan, there are many cards in the material deck that are just flex options, that are good only depending on the board state. For example, making Warrior's Longsword can help you go for a kill on level 2 Lorraine. The Warrior's Longsword is 2, level 2 Lorraine gives you 2 extra attack, and then Rending Flames for 3. 7 damage doubled 14, that's a huge push that is only made available by playing your flex options. Or let's say you're playing Silvie against Rye. Going for the Beast Bond boots is not something you do in every matchup, but against Rye, it can save you very easily. So going for your flex options is extremely important. Another great example is Nullifying Lantern. Playing that card is essential versus a Erupting Rhapsody deck. Getting it out early and making sure that you're applying pressure versus that deck is extremely important. But if you go for your linear materializations and you only do it later in the game, it may be too late. So make sure to always keep an open mind to when you should be playing your flex options, and don't just get lost in your linear game plan. So now I have some tips for the main 4 champions that you can play, and we're going to start out with Lorraine. So for Lorraine's tip, I want to talk about Ascension, and what you should be doing when you play this card. Most people when they play it, they just like to use it for Avarice. Sword of Avarice, it draws 2 cards on enter, and that's insane. Getting this advantage makes it so next turn, you can usually go for a huge kill because you have the 2 cards that you drew, plus the memory you're putting down. It's insane. While it's really strong to go for the draw too, many games can be ended 1 turn sooner if you just go Ascension into Prismatic Edge. If you're playing Fire against a Wind deck and you go Prismatic Edge, you're going to be doing 3 damage and looping a card out of their hand, which is extremely valuable. Also, Prismatic Edge just being 3 attack, along with Fire doing 3 more damage, it's just a lot of damage late into the game. It can make it so you can close out a game super early while before you're just Avarice digging for a win condition, you have the win condition built in with Ascension going into Prismatic Edge. So now when using Ascension, just don't forget there's more options than just going for Avarice. Prismatic Edge is an insane card, don't forget to abuse it. Now moving on to Rise tip, this is something that is very fundamental to his gameplay loop and it's pretty basic, but you need to make sure that you have on lock. You need to be banishing the right amount of arcane cards, and getting a guaranteed arcane banish is extremely important. So let's say for example, your turn 1, you just go Idle Thoughts, put down an arcane card, and you don't have much else, so you just pass. On your next turn, when you go to level 1, do you use your Idle Thoughts in Grave? I would say not. Just banish the guarantee arcane card you have in your memory, go to level 1. You're going to be banishing arcane cards anyways, so why not get your guaranteed 1 arcane card now, and then on the next turn, when it may not be guaranteed that you're getting an arcane card banished, use the floating memory then. When you're playing Rai, it's all about getting your levels up, and the easiest way to do that is when you have only arcane cards in your memory, and you can guarantee banish them off a level up. So just keep that in mind. And now for Silvie's tip, when you're playing Tamer just in general, you need to make sure that your allies are going to be staying alive. You do this by having defensive cards ready during your opponent's turn. Favorable Winds, Reclaim, Zephyr, Song of Nurturing, these are all extremely valuable cards that you need to be able to play during your opponent's turn when they try to clear your board. And it's even better if they try to use their entire turn to clear your board, and then on the last attack you just play your defensive card. It makes them waste a turn, they won't clear your board, and now on your next turn you get to play pretty freely because they just wasted an entire turn trying to clear your board. Now for our last tip with Zander and the Assassin class, I want to talk about the Poison Dagger and how extremely important it is to this deck. Poison Dagger is usually going to be your win condition and how you get for a really big damage swing all in one turn. Now you need to keep in mind that it enters rested, so you have to plan a turn ahead of when you're going to kill. Now there's 2 different versions of Zander that are popular right now, so you want to be playing Poison Dagger differently depending on the version you're playing. In the aggressive version of Zander, I think you should be going for Poison Dagger as early as humanly possible, so that way whenever you draw into your hand that's going to be going for the aggressive push, you can just play it. But let's say you're going for a Luxem Zander build, you're trying to use your Luxem cards and control the board state. You don't want to be going for Poison Dagger really early, because since you're going late game with your opponent, they have a chance to draw into their interaction, like a Spurned Ash, or any other way that interacts with your Poison Dagger. Especially with set 2 coming out soon, there's a lot of ways to interact with Poison Dagger, and you're not going to want to materialize it until you know you can go for a push. So I would say if you're playing Luxem Zander, just wait until you know you're going to go for the kill next turn, then materialize it, then go for it. And that's all the tips I have for now. Hopefully you guys found something useful. If you have any tips that I didn't mention, make sure to comment them below and I'll make sure to like and pin them as many as I find. Alright, and that's all I got. Till next time.